Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with the juice to get you through the long nights. If you want to know all about the history of Lord Corlys Velaryon, he's one of my favorite characters from Fire and Blood. I did an entire video on him and his accomplishments, all the history and lore on Corlys Velaryon, and I'll link it below. But this video ain't that. I've been biting my tongue for a long time, and I just feel like I gotta get some of y'all together. Because y'all are really disappointing me. I'm really disappointed. And I'm going to address this topic one time and one time only. Let the record reflect that Corlys Velaryon being casted by Steve Toussaint is the best casting thus far to come out of House of the Dragon. As I said on Twitter, I'm not interested in discourse. I am right. And if you disagree, let me explain to you why you are wrong. I will be using only facts and the arguments that have been brought up against the casting to me. If you are offended by what I'm going to say, do some soul searching, burn some sage, get some crystals, pull some tarot cards. I don't know what to tell you because these are the facts. So ever since it was announced that Corlys Velaryon was being casted by a black man, the fandom has been in an uproar. Every time a picture of said black man is tweeted, there is an uproar. There is discourse, and I'm just tired of it. Some of y'all are really gatekeeping fantasy, and it's disgusting. You sound like the white lady in life that wouldn't sell Claude and Ray the pies.
No, these are whites-only pies.
That's what y'all sound like to me. I'm not here to say you're racist or you're not. It's not my place. But I am going to say that you're ignorant. And I'm going to factually and categorically show you why you're ignorant so you can do better. Let's get into it. First off, even if Corlys Velaryon was said to be a white man in these books, at the end of the day, these books are fantasy. This is a fantasy universe. This is a fantasy story. They can do whatever the fuck they want as long as they are telling a story that makes sense. But that isn't even the case here. That's not the case. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what the books say about Corlys Velaryon. Let's talk about what the books say about House Velaryon. Let's talk about Valyrians and Valyria. I'll be the first to tell you, I thought Corlys Velaryon was an old white dude, even though the books never say that. If you look at the official House Velaryon lineage, we don't know who Corlys Velaryon's mother is. His mom is unknown. Also, the books never give his physical description. So how in the hell are you going to be outraged by a casting of a character who has never been physically described? Well, Gray, he's from Valyria. Valyrians are white. This is not a factual statement. It's not true. It's just not true. Let me explain Valyria for a second. Valyria was a melting pot, okay? Valyria was geographically in one of the hottest regions of Essos. Valyria was northeast of the Summer Isles and south of Slaver's Bay. Valyria conquered and enslaved most of Essos. Valyria was a multicultural melting pot. The fact that George R.R. Martin writes and world builds with historical accuracy, and some of you motherfuckers think that he would make a country all white, is baffling to me. It's baffling to me. Do you really know what you're reading? Are we reading the same story? The fact that you think it is impossible for a black Valyrian to exist is crazy to me, especially when we have black Valyrians in the story, the canon story. Aegon the Unworthy had babies by the Black Pearl of Braavos. Her children were brothers and sisters to Bloodraven. Are we reading the same story? But I'm going to keep going. Let's talk about House Velaryon. I have to tell you why I'm right. House Velaryon left Valyria long before House Targaryen. House Velaryon were not known to be dragon riders. They were not dragon lords of Old Valyria. They were known for their ships, their fleet. Someone asked me on Twitter, what fleet was better, the Sea Snake's fleet or the Iron Fleet from the Iron Isles? The Lord of the Tides would wipe his ass and mop the floor with the Iron Fleet. Just saying. But back to why I'm right. House Velaryon are seafarers. They travel the world, port to port. You think they've never had sex with someone at said ports? Please. It even says in A World of Ice and Fire, shout out to Dragon's Demands because he pointed this out, that the Pentoshi were seafarers as well, and they weren't protective of the dragon blood. It was the dragon riders that were protective of their blood and did their whole incest thing. But even the dragon riders were getting sneaky links all the time and mingling their blood. Like even on Dragonstone, the first night rite was celebrated there more than anywhere else. And here's the quote from the actual books. The ancient law of the first night had prevailed on Dragonstone as it did throughout Westeros, whereby it was the right of the Lord to bed any maiden in his domain upon her wedding night. Though this custom was greatly resented elsewhere in the Seven Kingdoms by men of a jealous temperament who did not grasp the honor of being conferred upon them, such feelings were muted upon Dragonstone, where Targaryens were rightly regarded as being closer to gods than the common run of men. Here, brides thus blessed upon their wedding nights were envied, and the children born of such unions were esteemed above all others, for the lords of Dragonstone oft celebrated the birth of such with lavish gifts and gold and silk and land to the mother. So between traveling the world, the Lord's right to the first night, sneaky links, and all of that shit, you think all Velaryons are white? Really? Okay. Well, let me explain what Velaryon features actually are from the man himself, George R.R. Martin. And here's the quote. Right from the start, I wanted the Targaryens, and by extension, the Velaryons from whom they were descended, to be a race apart, with the distinctive features that set them apart from the rest of Westeros, and helped explain the obsession with the purity of their blood. To do this, I made a conventional high fantasy choice and gave them silver gold hair, purple and violet eyes, fine, chiseled, aristocratic features. So I want to say this. I want to say this so everyone can hear it. I want to say a Velaryon feature is not white skin. It never says that ever in the text. There is this one quote that all these never Corlys Velaryon people like to cling to, and it is, there's like one quote that they can find in A World of Ice and Fire that says, often the dragon lords had pale skin. But I would like to say to that is often and always is two very different things. Dragon lords and Velaryons are two very different things. The dragon lords were the families that ruled Valyria, the Targaryens being one of those families. House Velaryon, as far as we know, House Velaryon is not one of those families. House Velaryon has had dragon riders. Recently, they've had dragon riders, Laena and Laenor, because their mother is Targaryen. House Velaryon and House Targaryen have mingled their blood for years and years. Thus, they produced dragon riders. But they didn't come to Westeros with dragons. No, they did not. Anyway, Valyria was based loosely on the Roman Empire. Do you think that there were no black people in the entire Roman Empire? Like, do you really think that? Like, it's just stupid to think like that. So people were like, but Gray, this completely messes up the plot with Rhaenyra's children. How? How does this mess up the plot with Rhaenyra's children? The reason that Queen Alicent calls her children's bastards is because they don't look like Laenor, because they have brown hair. So what exactly messes up the plot? Nothing. Now that I explained why I'm right, I need to get some shit off my chest. So someone said if they want to cast black people for their social justice reasons, why don't they cast them in a different role? Not this role. Not Corlys Velaryon. And to that person, I would like to say that I am glad that you're not in charge. And let me explain why. The writers working on this show, you can tell that they understand the source material. They understand it, and they have read it thoroughly. They didn't cast Corlys Velaryon, the motherfucking sea snake and Lord of the Tides, on a whim, on a social justice agenda. It makes sense. It makes a ton of sense, and it doesn't contradict with book canon, as I've just demonstrated. You cannot contradict this casting, and that is why they cast him. But I want to point out what this commenter is really saying. What they're really saying. They're saying, why Corlys? Why not someone on the side who barely has a speaking role? Why does it have to be the most badass character during the entire Dance of Dragons? Because that's what Corlys is. He's the kingmaker. He makes kings rise and fall. He plays the Game of Thrones. He outlives everyone. And why does he have to be black? That's what he's saying. So you can say it's about book accuracy. And I'm just going to say it's not, babe. It's not about book accuracy. I've just shown you the facts. And if you still dispute it, you need to really do some soul searching. Even if you don't agree with my facts, even if you still don't agree and you make up your own facts in your head and Corlys is white in the books, it's a fucking fantasy story. It's George R.R. Martin's story. George R.R. Martin is working on the show. He got like 10 figures to work on the show from HBO. And if he's okay with it, then who the fuck are you not to be? Now, I said what I said, and that's all I got to say about that. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.